No, we're all on the same page. Grady, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Good
Hey,
evening. Good evening.
we're gonna go ahead and get this thing kicked off, okay?
Let's do
We
it.
got a quorum, and when the others get here, they'll join us. So, we're good? All right. At this time, the mayor will call to order the special city council meeting and workshop for 5 p.m. Tuesday, December the 14th of 2021. City Council Chambers, 201 East Nash Street, Terrell, Texas. We have here in the chambers, District 3 Mayor Ronnie Velasquez, Deputy Mayor Pro Tem. We have remotely Grady Simpson, District 2, and we'll see when District 4 Stephanie Holmes Thomas joins us as District 5 Tim Royce, Mayor Pro Tem, isn't with us either, but I think they're on their way. But we're going to go ahead and get our meeting started. Grady, would you mind leading us in invocation, please? If everyone would
Yes,
stand.
ma'am. May we bow our heads. Oh, Father God, we come once again giving you thanks for another day that we've never seen. We thank you for all the opportunities of the past. We thank you for what you brought us through. We ask that you will continue to guide us and keep us and help us as a council to have your wisdom and your understanding so that we may lead and guide with courage and wisdom. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Let's do the pledges. I pledge allegiance to the
Allegiance
flag
to
of the
the United States of America.
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. All right. Our next item on the agenda is mayor and council community recognitions. If we have any, let's hold those until the 7 o'clock. Do we have any visitors? Have no visitors, no remarks. So we'll move forward to the boards and commissions. This is discuss upcoming board and commission appointments. That's going to be handled by Dawn Stahl.
Mayor and council, there is an upcoming board appointment sheet in your packet, and it basically shows the board term expirations that are coming up in the coming months. It also shows the number of terms that each person served, just so that you can kind of keep these in mind. I'm happy to answer any questions.
So Joe Perry, are there term limits for the board members?
Yes.
Okay, so Joe Perry's going to term out?
And Cindy Oakley.
And Cindy Oakley in 2021?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, they've already termed out. They just don't have any applications at this time for the library board.
Got it. Okay. Let's go ahead and cover the council board responsibilities. For Charles Whitaker's library position, I'm going to recommend to council that we put Stephanie Holmes Thomas in that position. Is that something we'll need to vote on? Okay, so.
Mayor, we could do that on the January 4th meeting agenda.
Okay, let's put that on January the 4th. Also on January the 4th, I'd like to have the council discuss the Mayor Pro Tem, Deputy Mayor Pro Tem positions as well. So if we can put those together.
Yes, sir.
And we'll address that at that time. Our next item on the agenda is discuss recent grants and partnerships. 7.1, grants is going to be Mr. Sims.
So, Mayor and Council, we got a request from a council member a while back, said, hey, could you start putting together a list of recent grants? And I'm going to tell you that this page is scratching the surface. It lists our SAFER grant on here related to our hiring of firefighters. It lists some work that we've done with the sewer project here recently. Recent application we did to do some more sidewalk work through the CDBG program. We've got quite a few things there that Dustin Connor's been helping us with. The brush truck, you can see that $464,000 listed on there. Library doing well. There's there's not a lot of zeros at the end of those numbers, but that's okay. They're still pulling in funds for us, and we appreciate that. And then, as you can see, we've got a few over there in the police department. We just added the one in the police department related to that opioid grant opportunity. And as we discussed last time around, we'll be adding some more of those. You can see the Safe Routes to School project on there, the Adelaide sidewalk project that I think turned out really well. The next one downtown is the Grove Street sidewalk project. That's basically Rockwall to Francis on Grove, and then another section further over between Adelaide and Virginia, again on Grove. That's what's covered on that, $575,000. We've got the Crossroads New Urban Park. That's the one we keep talking about switching out to be Gold Star Park. And then a couple of ramp grants. That's a aviation grant that we apply for regularly down in our operations side of airport operations. What that enables us to do is make repairs all over the airfield. You wouldn't think that everything would need to be maintained, right? But by golly, there's a lot to be maintained out at the airport. Glenn's shaking his head because what's funds that he manages all the time. We'll be applying for a recreational trails grant. We'll be pursuing some additional ramp grants. And like I said, we've really just started this effort. There's also a new reporting requirement. State law always changes for us, so now there's a new job responsibility for Dawn. We actually have to report to the state comptroller all of our 380 agreements. So we've started a little bit of work to gather up all of our 380 agreements. And as you know, a lot of times that's where money comes to the city of Terrell, because we are getting from a developer a bulk of money that we come in and then direct out in a certain direction. For example, the 380 agreement we have where there's a donation being made to Breezehill Park. Those are the sorts of things we try to do there. So there's some cross information between those two lists that we'll be compiling as well. But anyhow, it was a council request. I did want to make sure that we were getting that information going for you.
Great, thank you. That looked good. Ron, is there anything additional that you would see, or Grady? I think that's good information for us to look at and study, and get back with Mike if you have any comments, okay?
Mayor, I thought you were asking if there were any free monies or projects we were looking for, and I certainly
There's a list, right?
So,
certainly have a running list for you there if that was the question.
so let's talk briefly about the grants process, and should a council member or the mayor be made aware of a grant that the city might be interested in, the process that you would follow is to reach out to you, Mike?
Absolutely. Dora and I would love to collect grant ideas, or maybe you get an email or an opportunity that you hear about at a conference, whatever it might be. Maybe you're just talking to one of your colleagues in another city. Let us know if you hear about a grant opportunity, and we will pursue it. Dora's real good about getting that information, and if we know we need to get it out to a department head or to the municipal court, then we'll shoot it out to the right person and get it done.
Excellent. Let's be mindful of that as we move forward in next year, 2022. Next item on the agenda, discuss the Kaufman County contracts related to the 9th Street Residential Partnership Public Improvement District Number 3 and the 9th Street Residential Partnership Maintenance Public Improvement District Number 4. Again, this is Mr. Sims.
So, Mayor and Council, these are just housekeeping items for us. Several years ago, as part of doing our 9th Street partnership, and that's the project with 478 homes that people kind of more often nickname Creekside. That's the one that runs basically from Long Elementary, and it's all the vacant land that runs from Long Elementary way back over to the corner of 9th and Eulalia. So you got to kind of imagine that in your head for a minute and say, oh yeah, there's just a field when I get to the dead end of 9th at Eulalia, right? You look across that field, that's the area where 9th Street will get extended. 9th Street will go past Long Elementary, 9th Street will go to Town North, and then all the way up to Whit Ranch Parkway. Whenever we put together the economic development incentive for the building of those houses out in that area, we did put 2 public improvement districts in place on those. We've got some provisions in the contracts that give us some flexibility about how high those assessment rates are, but we can't implement those assessments until we have contracts with the county. So these are just template contracts that Mary Gail's been working on for us with our friends down there at Kaufman County. And so it's very straightforward about, okay, here's what the tax assessor is going to do. Here's the compensation that we have to pay the tax assessor. Here's how we cooperate with one another. Here's how we do the deposits. Here's how we do refunds, audits, delinquent tax collection. Very important issue there of making sure we go get that money. And then you can see on the very last page of each of the two contracts is how much we actually pay. The Public Improvement District actually pays to the Kaufman County in order for them to do this work. And so you can see what those numbers look like on that. Obviously, whenever the Kaufman County tax assessor changes their rates, then that just readjusts the whole thing. So we get these in place. We're, I don't know whether I want to use the word hopeful about taxes, but we are anticipating that the first year that this will be in place will be the 2022, January 1, 2022 tax year. So we're just doing our work ahead of time to get these two PIDs in place for that period of time.
Does anybody have any questions on PID number 3? Are these both of them or just one?
Yeah, PID number 3 is going to be the one that is the Capital Public Improvement District, and then and it's the one that basically reimburses the developer for building 9th Street and a couple of the other major pieces of infrastructure out there. And then PID number 4 is really a maintenance PID, and I would say that this is going to be a really small public improvement district. Probably won't have a very large number associated with it because this basically takes care of mowing and maintaining some of the drainage areas that get created out in the 9th Street Partnership area.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Next item on the agenda is to discuss information technology project status report. Quarterly update on December the 21st. This is going to be our library IT director, Rebecca Anderson.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We'll wait 1 second for, do you have that first PowerPoint? Oh, okay. I just want to make sure I wasn't supposed to do something while I was standing here. Oh, yay.
This is where you tell a joke before your
Yeah.
presentation.
We will be providing you a quarterly update moving forward. This is a first one. We're kind of getting together all of the information that we feel like is going to be the most relevant for you, so we're not bogging you down in things that you're not interested in or don't need to know right away. So expect that by email in the future. It's going to be a short little snippet with some numbers in it. But to get started, True North came on board with us in August, technically in July, but permanently in August for this year. And they have been working on a number of different projects for us. Okay, so some of the major activities that we have been working on, I say we, I mean they, some general organizational. We did not have a current inventory of all of the technology-related devices in the city, which is a tremendous amount. So they have inventoried all the devices on the networks. They have onboarded all of those devices into their system, which is Enable, which will allow them to work remotely or access those devices remotely. They've asset tagged all devices, so God forbid there was a fire somewhere, we can go in and say, this was the equipment that was there that was destroyed and we need to replace. We did not have any tagging previously. All of the old equipment was removed from all sites, which is a huge undertaking and a wonderful thing because the library had a lot. They cleaned out all the IT rooms at different locations, which was another feat. And then they have organized all of our server racks so they can identify what servers are where, what's on them, and that way they can maintain them as that needed. They have cleaned up all of the Active Directory disabled users, so previous staff members that are no longer with the city that remained in our directory have now been removed. These are all things that you would think took place when people left, but there were no procedures in place to get these small things done. And so we're trying to get caught up with all that. They have restructured our Active Directory units and then created unique service accounts for those so that they can access them. Infrastructure, they have moved completely from the Sophos firewall, which was brought in by the previous provider, to the FortiGate, which will allow us, any staff that needs it, VPN access, which is remote access. Not everybody has that right now. It will be added as needed because not everybody's going to need it. The engineering remodel project, if you may not know, most of our IT equipment, servers and endpoints were in the closet in the utilities office. And our IT room is at the end of the hall by Charles Finner's office. And so we had a lot of our servers that were running cabling from this office back to the IT room, which creates an opportunity for failure and other issues. When engineering remodeled, they moved all of the engineering infrastructure from this utilities office to the IT room. So it's in a central location, which is a beautiful thing. They also completed the airport road network install and the Wi-Fi out there. And then they set up the new network at the new fire administration building. And that's a beautiful building, by the way. I went by there today and looked at it. Some of the special projects that they've worked on, PD has to do a CGIS audit every year, and it was incomplete and quite behind schedule, and they have got that to the end point. All they have to do is submit the final information, and they're good to go. In the future, that will be submitted on time, as we will keep it updated, and then just change what needs to be changed each year. They have ordered and installed a new Rimage system, which is the backup system for PD, cameras and phone calls and things like that. We have initiated a citywide ERP replacement search selection process, which is software. The Happy software, which is housing, has been migrated from a local server to the cloud, which means that that's one less server on site to take up space, and it has to be managed, which costs money, so we're saving a little money there. We have initiated a cell phone stipend versus a city-provided service policy development. That is an ongoing process, and we're getting close to the end point where we can take that to Mr. Sims and he can bring it to council. And then the library is moving into the modern age as well, yay. True North got us set up with our new self-check kiosk that we received through our CARES grant. So if you come by and you'd like to check something out, we'll let you do it yourself. Okay. Here's just a weekly trend, a look at service desk tickets requested. A total received tickets are 610. There are more tickets that have been, there are more requests that have been made than that number, but not everybody has been putting in an official ticket. Those are the number of tickets that they have received. 582 of those have been resolved. 28 are unresolved due to we're waiting for equipment, which everything right now that you order is delayed. Or we are waiting for a move or some change in policy or procedure to finish those out. The average number of tickets received is about 32 a week. They average about 30 a week that are completed. And then, on average, there's about 15 that are not. That doesn't make sense. But if you look there, you can see from August until the end of November, a look at those that were resolved, unresolved, and received, a comparison there by week. A day of the week that most tickets are received, can you guess? It's Monday. People come in from the weekend and realize their computer is updated, or they've forgotten a password, they can't log in, they need to move something. Most of those were received between 9 and 10 a.m. and resolved within the next hour. Based on previous experience in IT with our previous provider, that's amazing. That's beautiful service, and everybody so far that we have talked to has said they are so impressed with True North because they actually get things done, and it makes life a lot easier for the city staff. Some future activities. These are projects that will take place or at least begin in the next 12 to 16 months. The city-side backup solutions, we have, our system is set up to back up every day. Currently, we need to switch to a new system. So I actually received an email late this afternoon with some quotes on getting a new system in there so that we don't have any issues as far as backups. The citywide or city-side networking project, which I've mentioned before, that's the subnetting, where we're going to break it out from one network to multiple networks based on location. Recabling City Hall, that is what I was just speaking of, moving all of the IT equipment from this utilities closet to the IT room. It's going to be a large project, but it is one that is absolutely necessary to avoid any issues in the future. And then we are going to kick off our Tyler installation. That's going to be next, the next part of my presentation. The printer replacement project is going to be completed the last week of December. So we will start moving in. Some of the machines were out of stock, so we've had to wait a little bit longer. We will start that on the 28th and should be done by the 4th. I say maybe the 5th, just because it's the holidays, give them an extra day just to make sure. We will be emailing everybody to let them know when we're coming out. And then they are going to work on rejoining housing to the Active Directory infrastructure. Housing has been on a separate network, and so we're trying to incorporate them back into the general city network. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, so briefly, how much of our storage is cloud-based?
A majority of it.
Majority?
Most of our locations and departments are on a cloud server. PD is not. Right now, they have some on-site and some that are in the cloud. We are moving their phone system to the phone system we have throughout the rest of the city. That on-site server will be moved to a cloud-based server. And so I would say probably 90-95% of our stuff is in the cloud.
Do we save money by doing that rather than having?
Yes, it is more expensive to store stuff in the cloud, but it's safer, it's more reliable. You have less chance of something happening to your server that's on site in case of emergency.
Briefly touch on the weekly trend, and I think you mentioned it, but the service desk and compared to what we were experiencing versus what we've got now with this company, much better.
Much better. The resolution of tickets with the previous company through their system could be an average of 30 days to 2 months. We had tickets that were open for 6 months, and it was just very inefficient. So
I'm pleased that True North has started out great, as most of them will when they come on new.
absolutely.
Then the service seems to fall off. I hope that doesn't happen, but if it does, how do we resolve that?
We have, well, it's not going to happen. But we have, right now, we're on an annual contract with them. So for this first year, I carry a whip. We are managing, we speak daily about projects, what's going on. So they are being managed by city staff as well. So if there is a drop in service, we know about it immediately and can resolve it. But they're also on an annual contract so that at the end of this year, if they do not meet our expectations, we have the option to to not renew their contract and to look for somebody new.
They're engaged with the city currently.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. I guess what I'm concerned is because everybody's having difficulty with employees,
Mm-hmm.
staffing.
Mm-hmm.
Should they have that difficulty, priority-wise, we would like for them to take care of the city, you know. Seemed like we gave, were we one of the first ones or a few ones with True North?
So,
that stepped
Mm-hmm.
up for
The
those?
first city government. Mm-hmm.
So, we need to make sure they understand that, hey, we were there first.
Well,
Take care of us first.
yeah, absolutely. I will say that, you know, we have a fixed amount that we spend with them each month. And since they have come on, they have realized that this is a large undertaking. But to provide us stellar service, they needed to increase the number of staff. So they have already brought on 2 new staff members, which did not cost us anything more, to help, since PD is, it's a different animal out there, and they realize they need more staff time out there, and so they have brought on a couple of people to help other places, but yes, we're first.
I'm pleased with your ability to manage all of that. I wouldn't want to do that, but it sounds like you're doing a great job. Does anybody have any comments or questions for Becca?
Mayor and Council.
Great job.
Thank you.
Mayor and Council, the other part of Becca's presentation is one that is quite a goal, and that is taking some of our departments that I would say are living in the late 1980s DOS world and the paper world, and getting them up to live in the modern world. So Tyler Technology is quite the leader in this effort, and Becca has been interviewing them and researching with True North their capabilities. I think we're ready to move forward in this direction. I want to, Becca, give you a presentation on it as well.
Thank you. This is just kind of a general update on where we're at in this project. We're not asking you to vote on anything or anything like that. Ask questions. If we can't answer the questions today, then obviously we're going to take it back to Tyler and ask them the questions that you want answered. Currently, the city has multiple point packages that support different civic functions. So there's software in finance, there's software in HR, there's software at PD, there's software at engineering and municipal development and public services, and they're all different. And not all of them integrate. Some of the functions that we do on a regular basis, daily, weekly, monthly, are still paper-based, and there is no software in the city currently to do those functions. There's a lack of e-integration, which means, you know, our software doesn't play nice together. And so it creates more work for staff, and it limits what the citizens are able to do online, which we all know is what people are looking for, especially in times like of COVID. There is a lack of a common data repository. So because everybody's separate, you're not, we can't share information in one big place. It's, everybody has to go and pull their information and share it with each other individually. And then there is no, right now there's little to no digital front door for the public, which means they have access to everything they need from the city, through the city, with the city, digitally. So with Tyler Technologies, Tyler is the Cadillac of the car world, or I guess maybe the Range Rover, I don't know. They offer everything that were looking for when we started shopping and more, things that we didn't even realize that we wanted and needed. The Munis and the ERP are the finance and HR modules. New World is the police department, and Encode is the court system. And those are your core modules, your core base of the software to bring together all of the city's departments and functions. And so starting out, that's what we're looking at, are these modules, and to build this common repository for everybody. So the Munis is the finance, accounting, HR, payroll, time tracking, talent management, civic services, recruitment. All of that would be done online. Currently, a lot of that is paper-based. We do payroll on paper, and a lot of our finance procedures are done on paper as well, because the software we have in finance is very, very outdated, and it doesn't offer us the functionality that we need. And again, some of this didn't come to light until COVID kind of thrust us into this digital world, and we see just how far behind we are. The proposal that we're gonna, or the numbers that we're gonna show you right now, and the proposal that we'll be bringing forth first, will not include all civic services. Again, it's gonna start with the Munis, Encode, and New World. And those are gonna be our base, and then we'll build off of those. Encode is courts management right now, and then New World is PD, as well as some of the fire department functions are part of that. Right now we have Southern software at PD, and the courts software is through UDS, which doesn't integrate with Southern. So when PD has a function that they do, like writing tickets and things like that, they have to print all that out and take it over and give it to the court staff for them to process on their end. With New World and Encode, they put it in the system and it automatically goes over and tracks the citations and jury summons and all that kind of stuff in the system. And so it's going to streamline their procedures tremendously, save a lot of staff time. Okay, so this is down to the nitty-gritty. And again, this is not the hard, cold numbers. This is not fact. This is just a rough analysis of what we're looking at. And obviously, this is not going to happen in FY22. But we did base these numbers on our FY22 budget. So if you look at the estimates box on the left, you will see that Tyler is very expensive. We're looking at about 1.14 million to get all of the finance, HR, PD, and courts on board, as well as some hardware. And then the recurring cost for that is going to be about $234,000. If you look at our current budget on the right-hand side, you'll see that we have about $321,000 that are committed to this type of the projects that would be covered under Tyler Technologies. So that would offset that cost. And again, this is not in FY22. And as we continue to streamline our processes and procedures and incorporate new technology and cut costs, which is what we've been doing for the last year, that number will continue to grow to offset that recurring cost. For example, the printer project is going to save us roughly $50,000 a year. That would go towards the offset cost there. Moving to the cell phone stipend program, and then some of the other future projects that we're looking at are going to save us a tremendous amount of money. So if you look at the bottom box there, it says Delta Analysis. It looks a little scary, but if you look at all of the items that are included in this package, it includes moving from a majority paper-based program to almost completely paperless in multiple departments. It is only 37% more expensive in terms of monetary value than what we're spending currently, but the functionality for the staff, as in doing our jobs better and more efficiently, is immeasurable, because every single staff person, it doesn't matter what department, is going to benefit from this upgrade. Save time, your work processes are going to be a lot easier, you're going to have a lot less, things will be done in a more efficient manner. There are a number of functions that Tyler is going to bring to the table that we currently do not offer at all, which is the human capital management. a more modern platform for accounting, and then, of course, offering that digital front door to the citizens. Their interactions with the city and staff will be more modern and technological, easier as we move toward a more paperless interaction both within the city and with the citizens.
So, a couple of things.
This
This
is the last slide, go ahead. And then we can go back to it. This last slide is a project schedule, roughly a project schedule. Because this is such a huge project, it's going to take time, and it's gonna take a full commitment from the staff in these different departments so that we can ensure that it's done correctly and completely. You're looking at financials about a year. The public safety is about a little over a year. Courts is about a year. So you're looking at about 16 months to get it all done. If we have full cooperation from the staff in those departments. Once we get going, it is an expensive project, and Tyler has a dedicated staff to help us apply for ARPA funds, which will cover the majority, if not all, of the initial purchase and installation. So that first 1.1 million should be covered almost completely by ARPA funds. But where we're gonna see cost increase in that beginning stage of this process is if we have staff that are not on board, and it takes longer to do the install. That's where you're gonna see some costs incurred above what, their proposed costs. But I think everybody that I have spoken to so far is very excited about this opportunity and moving forward, simplifying life and cutting down the time spent on everyday tasks that should only take, just a few minutes.
So my take on where we are and where we want to be is, as you mentioned, we're so inefficient in how things are run at the city. And I'm glad that we're able to use some of those funds because we were exposed during the COVID-19. It helped us understand just how far back, how far behind we are of the times.
Absolutely.
So, to me, if we can bank the offset of the cost, the savings that we're gaining on IT, and just bank that money and save it, and use it for IT purposes, I think we would be better off to be in a position for future expenditures with Tyler. So as we make these savings in IT, I hope we bank it and set it aside in an account and not spend those, not be tempted to use those funds for anything except for upgrades in our IT for the city.
Absolutely.
Mayor, I think that's well said, and if you go back one slide, I will just kind of highlight something. We need everybody on board. We will spend more money each year with Tyler than we're spending on our current software, and you can kind of see that in that recurring number down there. But my comment to you is, I think it's well worth it, partly because it's an employee morale issue at this point. Everybody's used to the very easy world we live in to pay bills or do anything else administrative in their life. They want, our employees want, need, deserve a system that reduces frustration. And so change is hard, but I think that we will have a overwhelming embrace in this as we roll it out, because it's the world we all want to live in, right?
Hey, there's not a choice from, I'm not sure about the council, but for the mayors, there's not a choice. We have to do this. We need to work smarter, not harder, as we move forward as a municipality. Just plain and simple. And I get that it's scary for some who've been doing things the same way over and over again, and it may be difficult for those to understand the importance of the inefficiency that's happening in their department, but we need to move forward with it. Does the council have any comments?
Hey, Mayor,
Yes.
yes, yes, I 100% agree with you. Right now, the city of Terrell is in a level of growth and expansion. And in situations like this, we're going to be uncomfortable for a while. And that's the only path to improve our city and make it a place where people want to come and live. And the library is an important component of that. So I support it 100%.
Thank you, Mr. Simpson. Next.
I would say I'm supportive of the overall project.
Ooh, thank you.
What I'm looking for is a detailed breakdown of software in all these departments that we are not looking to replace, to have an understanding of how those may interact with each other or not interact with each other. What I will also be looking for is a detailed breakdown of the software that we're looking to replace and what functions they're utilized, both on the staff end and then also anything that our customers may be receiving. So one of my concerns is, and so this will help me understand better as well, on if I go, so I'm looking at, courts management, because Becca, you mentioned, although Munis, which takes care of the civic services, is listed here, you indicated initially that it would not be included in the proposed package. However, I do see somewhat of a breakdown of what that cost would be. So I'm going to use course management as an example, since you mentioned that would be in the proposed package. Courts management, if I have a customer that is maybe not so much technology or even language, their literacy in both levels isn't as great as maybe you and I. How would a change in one of these softwares impact not a customer not only at the court system level, but at the PD level, and any documentation that they would receive or need to read or sign off on? So that's a concern I have, and would need more detailed information if and how that would impact our customers.
Okay. All of this is very user-friendly, and so city staff will be able to guide citizens through the software as needed. It is very user-friendly. It is very simple to use, and it also is multilingual. So we will gather some more information when we get ready to come back and do our official proposal, and we'll answer all of that for you.
I would just also add, if staff is more efficient because the software is handling problems and issues and taking care of 95% of my customers, then that really opens up staff time to do personal work with the 5% of customers who might need that special holding hand, right? So if I can make part of the operation more efficient, then the staff can really spend time with the people who just genuinely, for whatever reason it might be, they don't need to be in the software system. They just need somebody to personally hold their hand. So I think that's an important part of it. The other thing is to say, I don't want you to have the impression that you just saw the end of us converting to Tyler Technology. This is a first step in converting to Tyler Technologies, because some of the departments that we're not putting on this list, they would be ones that we would start working with after we finish this list. So don't feel like I'm just leaving out part of the organization. We're going to have a handful that we just judged. You know what? It's not as broken as the rest right now. So we're going to live with making that transition as swiftly as possible. It's just not good change management to say we're going to change all the technology in the entire city all in 1 year. We're going to change it methodically. Having True North around to help with the transition, I think, is a very important element of it. So we'll let them do the work to get us transitioned one step at a time. But definitely think that after we finish this package, Munis is the one that we definitely want to do, because that's the one that's finance and HR. Encode is the one we definitely want to do, because that's court. New World is police department. So that trio really helps us to advance the ball, but we will immediately, after we finish those, start working on some other departments.
We've started talking to other department heads about demonstrations to see if they're interested in the software. Would they be willing to change, and do they want to see a demo? And we've got that scheduled with some, and we're working on adding the others. We just have to have a foundation to build on. These are our most important modules, and so we're starting with these. And then from there, we'll add, if you put all of it in one, every single department and every module, you're looking at about a 3 to 4 year project. So it's easier and better to just start small and get a good base foundation. Tyler is very communicative, and they are very responsive when we ask questions. So they are aware of what software we have and how that will work as we do this installation, how it's going to work with the other departments, and we'll have that information as well. So we'll be prepared for integration as we start with new software along with our old stuff too.
I have two other questions that came to mind. Well, one is sort of a thought here on when you implement new technology, and maybe it's technology that some staff does not feel comfortable utilizing, or you have staff that may roll off, and then you're hiring for new staff, and now you're requiring maybe a different or a higher level of knowledge and utilizing the services, and what impact that has on the hiring side. If, and this is more for Mike, right, if we're, looking to pay it a little bit more if you have expertise in certain softwares. I'm not saying these are going to be softwares that are so hard to learn or so innovative, but I sense some of that when you start implementing some of these newer technologies that are being utilized by many corporations. So that's my first thought. My question is around the ARPA funding. We a couple months ago we agreed on ARPA funding that we had received and how that would be utilized. So I'm wondering if the ARPA fund that you mentioned, Becca, would be pulled from that same bucket of funds, or maybe an additional bucket of funds?
Right, let me answer one question at a time. On the first question, we have definitely had employees in finance who came in from the temp agency that we use for finance, or maybe the SDR person that we've had in the past helping out in finance, come in, look at our system and say, I'm not sure this job's for me because this technology is so old, I'm gonna have to go back and relearn something. So I have a lot of employees who interview in finance who look at what we do and say, man, please don't make me use that. So that's a really important element of recruitment. Tyler is easier and less complicated than Harris, so the finance gurus, they much prefer that. So that's a important thing to note. And then I would say that the second half of the question, on our American Recovery Plan funds, we only did 1 year of decision-making related to funds that come to us over a 2-year period. So we did a round, and it's embedded in your budget. I'm not going to try to quote the number perfectly off the top of my head, but I think we had designated something on the order of $400,000 for American Recovery Plan money going into your IT budget. And that was intended to assist Becca in making these sorts of transitions. So this program here will definitely be more expensive than that. And one of the things that Becca will have to work with Tyler Technology on is, well, what part of this is going to happen when, and when are we paying different parts of this? We get another influx of American Recovery Plan funds in late summer of 2022. And so we'll have to look at that money at that time and say, okay, how much of this are we comfortable using for this purpose, and how much of this are we wanting to dedicate to other uses? I think between shot 1 of American Recovery Plan funds and shot 2 of American Recovery Plan funds, we'll have ample money for what Becca is showing you here. But it's a good question because we will have a budget process next year, and I will say to you, hey, we've already dedicated part of the ARPA funds to whatever portion we don't cover from shot 1.
Thank you, Becca.
If you have any other questions, just feel free to email me. And I was going to let you know that the library has a Tech Tuesday which is open for the public to come in. If you have any questions about using technology or software, the staff will be glad to help you.
Tuesday,
Yes,
council meetings, so Tuesdays is when we have.
we do it early.
Do it in the morning?
I think it's at 1.
Okay.
Yes, not to worry.
Thank you, Becca. Great job. Next item on the agenda is receive National Incident-Based Reporting System, November 2021 report. Mr. Sims?
Mayor and Council, this is just our continuing series of making our crime reports public information by putting them in your council packet. So feel free to share those and take a look. The overall trend is good, but we don't, I'm not trying to spend much time on that right now. If you got any questions, just let me or Dora or Ken McKean know.
All right, so if you have any questions or comments, please reach out to Mike. At this time, we're going to adjourn into executive session.
Please, one quick item.
In accordance with Section 551 of the Texas Government Code, to discuss the following. Section 551.072, consultation with attorney pending or contemplated litigation. Section 551.072, real property. And Section 551.087, deliberations regarding economic development negotiations. We are now in executive session.
The mediation.
We're still live, so hold on.
I'm worried that Mary Gill's going to take Stephanie's gift. Mary Gill, you can reach over there and take Stephanie's.
What?
Very tempting. You're next to a gift.
We're going to reconvene into regular session and consider action, if any, on items discussed in executive session. There are none. We are adjourned.
Hey, Mayor, don't take my gift.
Santa.
The K kids.
The K kids
Yes.
again.
Uh-huh.